Maria Elena Bergoglio, Pope Francis's sister, recently shared her thoughts on Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, quickly drawing attention to the possibility of who could carry Pope Francis's vision forward. Enter Cardinal Luis Antonio, known as the Asian Francis. Tagle has been seen not only as a potential papal candidate but also as a continuation of Pope Francis's spirit. His compassion, humility, and outreach to those on the margins reflect everything Pope Francis stood for. Tagle is a theologian who smiles, a shepherd who sings, and a communicator who connects with both the powerful and the poor. Unlike her brother's public life, Maria Elena Bergoglio's journey is about quiet love, inner strength, and a resolute will, traits that reflect the very essence of a family tested by grief and held together by grace. The Bergoglio family was not famous when Maria Elena was born. They were simply a hard-working Argentine family filled with love and faith. Their father, Mario Jose Bergoglio, worked on the railways and had a quiet soul, while their mother, Regina Maria Savori, kept the household strong with unshakable faith. Although they weren't wealthy, they were rich in love, and in such a home, children quickly learn the true value of life. Maria Elena was the youngest of 5 siblings, with the eldest, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, eventually becoming Pope Francis. But to Maria Elena, he was simply her older brother who protected her during tough times. Her other siblings, Alberto, Horacio, Marta Regina, and Oscar Adrian, each had their own dreams, now passed on, leaving Maria Elena as the last one to carry the family's legacy. When their father passed away, Maria Elena was just a child. While many children might have faltered under such a loss, Maria Elena had something rare, her brother Jorge Mario. He became more than just a sibling. He was a guide, mentor, and second father to her. He taught her to dance the tango, to laugh through the pain, and to stay strong even when her heart was heavy. When he left for Rome, a part of Maria Elena went with him. But even the distance and the Vatican could not sever their bond. Despite becoming pope, Jorge never lost sight of his roots. He called her regularly, simply saying Maria Elena, no need for titles, because true love doesn't require them. When he was chosen as Pope Francis in 2013, the world celebrated. But Maria Elena shed tears, not because she wasn't proud of him, she was, but because she understood what it meant: distance, responsibility, and burdens. In a moment of honesty, she prayed that he wouldn't be selected. She later admitted that it was a selfish prayer, driven by fear of losing her brother to the world. It's a feeling many can relate to, the pain of watching a loved one become the world's. But instead of letting bitterness take hold, Maria Elena remained grounded. She chose not to attend his inauguration at his request and instead donated the travel funds to charity. That's who she is, reserved, yet with a heart full of power and kindness. While the world was captivated by Pope Francis, Maria Elena chose to live quietly in Argentina. No fame-seeking interviews, no book deals, just sincerity. Maria Elena's words were never meant to build herself up. Instead, they served to reveal who her brother truly was, not merely a pope, but a man with humble beginnings. A man who once swept floors and read her bedtime stories. She described him as strong enough to lead the church, yet still possessing the same humor and stubbornness he had in his youth. She doesn't try to soften her words, and people listen because her honesty and authenticity stand out in a world full of carefully curated images. As a mother, fighter, and survivor, Maria Elena raised her family with the same quiet strength she had known growing up. Among her children is Cristina Bergoglio, a respected artist in Madrid who is carving her own path with a paintbrush rather than a crucifix. Another of her children, Jose Ignacio Bergoglio, has shared their family's legacy with a mix of pride and humility. But Maria Elena's life isn't only about being a sister or a mother. It's about surviving. In 2015, when her health was in jeopardy, she was hospitalized, but she did not break. She smiled, she fought, and when asked about the experience later, she didn't complain. Instead, she spoke about finding laughter through tears and how humor kept them going when everything else seemed impossible. She holds the memories of her siblings, the late Alberto, Marta, and Oscar, dear, not to mourn, but to remind herself that love never fades, even in death. Our family has known a lot of sadness, tears, and pain. But even in the hardest moments, we found a smile and a laugh that gave us the strength to keep going. This quote not only captures her life but defines it. It speaks to the truth that even in the darkest moments, laughter is the first sign of light. And when it comes from someone who's lost so much, it carries a unique healing power. While Pope Francis has redefined the Catholic Church with his messages of compassion, simplicity, and reform, Maria Elena is the quiet force behind that mission. She embodied those values long before the cameras were ever focused on her, because they were deeply ingrained in her soul. She doesn't appear on magazine covers or lead masses, but in her own subtle way, she has shown the world that humility is not a sign of weakness. It is, in fact, the greatest strength. And perhaps that is the most important lesson her brother learned from her. If you've ever held your family together through grief, if you've watched a sibling excel while you remain behind, if you've chosen silence over attention, love over envy, faith over fear, then Maria Elena's story mirrors your own. She represents the unsung heroes, the ones who don't seek the spotlight but keep the light of love burning in the darkness. Before we dive into that, I need your help. I'm aiming to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I'd greatly appreciate your support. Please subscribe and help me out. Stay tuned for insights from Vatican insiders and their predictions for the next pope. The death of Pope Francis has not only left a significant void in the heart of Catholicism, but it has also set the stage for one of the most unpredictable papal elections in recent memory. For those who cherish tradition yet long for change, this moment might resonate with something deep within. Pope Francis transformed everything. More than 80% of the 135 cardinal electors set to enter the Sistine Chapel in early May were appointed by him, ensuring his influence will be felt, though not in a straightforward or obvious way. Francis didn't fill the College of Cardinals with clones. Instead, he chose men from diverse theological backgrounds, cultures, and continents. As a result, the upcoming conclave is a complex mix of ideas, desires, and spiritual perspectives, which makes predicting its outcome difficult. Vatican insiders, from experienced journalists to retired diplomats, agree that the 2025 conclave is a spiritual and political wildcard. There is no clear frontrunner or consensus candidate, just a global church in search of a leader during a time of deep uncertainty. So what are the cardinals looking for? This isn't about charisma or age. It's not a job interview but a sacred process of discernment. However, the cardinals are still searching for qualities that matter in today's turbulent world, a spirit of reform or a commitment to tradition. Will the next pope continue Francis's reforms, or will he steer the church back toward its pre-Francis identity? Can he manage the complexities of Vatican bureaucracy while addressing global issues? Does he have a pastoral heart, able to empathize with the people, share in their struggles, and offer true compassion? Is he able to view the Church's needs through a global lens, serving not just Rome but the entire world? These are the key concerns, the stakes at play, and behind closed doors, every conversation and gesture carries the weight of these questions. Let's take a look at the most talked about candidates. Although no one can predict what will happen, these are the figures who have Vatican observers paying close attention. Pietro Parolin, 70, from Italy, is often considered the Vatican's steady hand. As the current Secretary of State, he is effectively the Church's top diplomat. Calm, measured, and exceptionally experienced, Parolin is seen as a stabilizing force, a centrist who knows how to keep the Vatican's machinery running smoothly. Betting markets favor him, AI algorithms predict his success, and many traditionalists quietly respect him. However, there are some concerns about his past involvement in the controversial China-Vatican deal, and his lack of pastoral experience has led some to question whether he is more of a bureaucrat than a shepherd. Luis Antonio Tagle, 67, from the Philippines, is often referred to as the Asian Francis. If Pope Francis had a spiritual heir, it would likely be Tagle. He is emotional, articulate, and deeply beloved in the global South, embodying mercy and compassion. Known for shedding tears during his sermons and embracing the homeless, Tagle has the potential to inspire a new generation of Catholics. He also symbolizes the Church's shift away from Europe and toward Asia and Africa, responding to a world that craves inclusion and justice. In a time of uncertainty, Tagle feels like a breath of fresh air for the global Church. Following the Vatican's shakeup of Caritas Internationalis, which was led by Tagle, questions have arisen. Some insiders are uncertain about his ability to manage effectively. Matteo Zuppi, 69, from Italy, is known as the people's pastor. Zuppi is often described as a quiet storm, unflashy but deeply beloved. He is recognized for his work with marginalized groups and his advocacy for peace. A loyalist of Francis, Zuppi brings street-level spirituality to the Red Hat. He has also played a pivotal role in Italy's interfaith dialogue and refugee assistance. Vatican insiders view him as a potential bridge builder, though his lack of Vatican political experience is seen as a weakness, particularly in conclaves where such experience can be crucial in gaining momentum. Peter Erdo, 72, from Hungary, is considered a theological heavyweight. As a canon law expert and a conservative voice, Erdo appeals to cardinals who believe Francis acted too quickly. Should the Church seek a reset and a return to order, Erdo could be their choice. However, his firm conservative stance might alienate progressives and voters from the global South who desire more compassion and less control. Peter Turkson, 76, of Ghana, is known for his peacemaking efforts. He is a commanding figure with significant contributions to climate change, peace-building, and economic justice. A powerful orator and bridge builder, Turkson could potentially become the first African pope in over 1,000 years. Yet some insiders think the odds remain against an African pope, despite the symbolic power such an election would hold. Mark Ullett, 80, from Canada, is a Vatican veteran with pastoral charm. He's been a fixture in the Curia for years and is well versed in its intricacies. However, at 80 and following recent controversies, his chances may be limited. Conclaves do not begin with voting. They are shaped by whispered conversations, late-night debates, and the nuanced art of consensus building during general congregations. It is in these moments that coalitions form, frontrunners fade, and compromise candidates rise. Vatican insiders remind us that conclaves are not wars. They are negotiations steeped in prayer. And often the most popular candidate at the outset does not emerge as the victor. The cardinals may not be firmly divided into opposing camps, but each one carries their own vision for the Church's future. The real challenge is finding someone who can unite, not just win. Betting markets and AI are also engaged in the Pope prediction game. Algorithms are analyzing everything from public sentiment to historical patterns, and betting sites frequently adjust their odds based on insider gossip and global speculation. Currently, Parolin leads many AI predictions, though Tagle and Turkson are not far behind. These models, though insightful, cannot read hearts. They simply show where the global winds are blowing. Even the most sophisticated AI systems concede that this is the world's most unpredictable election. What makes this moment so impactful isn't just the uncertainty but the possibility. For the first time in modern history, we could witness the election of a pope from Asia or Africa. The Church may take another bold step toward the margins, toward empathy, and toward the people. If you've ever believed that faith should reflect the real world, touching the earth, healing wounds, and listening rather than lecturing, then your hopes are wrapped up in this conclave. The next pope won't just lead a church. He will shape hearts, drive policy, and carry the spiritual weight of souls across continents. We're not witnessing a power struggle. We're witnessing a spiritual rebirth. As white smoke rises and the world eagerly awaits the name to be announced from the loggia, everything will change. Whether it's Parolin, Tagle, Zuppi, Erdo, or someone completely unexpected, one thing is certain: the Church is still alive, still wrestling, still reaching. So don't just watch, feel it, own it, and pray for it. Because this is more than politics. It's prophecy unfolding.